Welcome to the path of strength and wisdom. In a world where people take others for granted, where loyalty is mistaken for weakness, and where emotional dependence keeps many trapped in toxic cycles, it's time to step into a new mindset, a Stoic mindset. Welcome to this space where we don't chase validation, we don't beg for attention, and we don't allow ourselves to be treated as an option. Here we embrace strength, wisdom, and emotional independence. Too often, people assume you'll always be there. They believe you'll tolerate their neglect, their games, their lack of appreciation. They grow comfortable, thinking no matter what they do, you'll remain available. But what happens when you finally walk away? What happens when you reclaim your power, silence your emotions, and disappear from their lives? That's when everything changes. Suddenly, they feel the void you left behind. The same presence they once took for granted now haunts them. They start questioning themselves, replaying memories, and wondering if they made the biggest mistake of their lives. Their pride fades, their arrogance crumbles, and for the first time, they fear losing you forever. But by the time they feel that fear, you've already evolved. You've already stepped into the next phase of your life, one where their approval no longer defines you. You have become emotionally independent. This is where true power lies, not in seeking revenge, not in proving them wrong, but in reaching a place where their presence or absence no longer affects your peace. If you're ready to embrace this transformation, to become someone who commands respect, radiates self-confidence, and walks away when necessary, then this message is for you. Join us in this journey of Stoic mastery, self-growth, and unshakable strength. Let's reclaim what's ours, our power, our peace, and our purpose. Now let's dive into today's lesson. Number 1. The sting of rejection. Rejection is one of the most painful experiences a person can endure. It cuts deep, leaving behind wounds that take time to heal. Whether it comes from someone you admired, a close friend, or even a job opportunity, the feeling of being unwanted stings like nothing else. It triggers a wave of emotions: hurt, confusion, anger, and even self-doubt. You start questioning everything. Was I not good enough? Did I do something wrong? Why wasn't I chosen? These thoughts consume your mind, making it difficult to focus on anything else. The reality is, rejection is often less about you and more about the other person's choices, perspectives, and limitations. But when you're caught in the moment, it doesn't feel that way. It feels personal. It feels like a direct attack on your worth. For many, the immediate response to rejection is to seek validation, to prove their value, or to desperately try and win back what was lost. But this only leads to more pain. The truth is, chasing after someone who has dismissed you is an act of self-betrayal. It places your self-worth in the hands of another person, making their opinion more important than your own. A Stoic approach, however, teaches a different lesson. Instead of seeing rejection as a loss, it should be viewed as a redirection, an opportunity to remove yourself from a situation that was never meant for you. Instead of seeking external approval, you shift your focus inward, recognizing that your value is not determined by someone else's decision. The sting of rejection also comes with a hidden benefit: clarity. It exposes who truly values you and who doesn't. It eliminates uncertainty. Instead of wasting time on people who are indifferent to your presence, rejection forces you to invest in those who genuinely appreciate you. It may not seem like it at first, but rejection is a gift, a painful but necessary one. It teaches resilience, self-respect, and the importance of emotional detachment. When you stop fearing rejection, you become unstoppable. You realize that no single person or opportunity defines your worth. You learn to move forward, stronger than before, unaffected by the fleeting opinions of others. So, let the sting of rejection fuel your growth. Let it push you towards greater self-respect. Instead of mourning what was lost, embrace what is yet to come. The moment you stop letting rejection define you is the moment you step into your true power. Number 2, the void of missing you. When you walk away, something shifts. At first, they may not even notice your absence. They continue with their routine, assuming you'll always be there, waiting, responding, caring. But then, as the days stretch into weeks, a strange emptiness begins to settle in. It's the void of missing you, the realization that someone who once provided comfort, attention, and warmth is now gone. And this void, it grows. It starts as a small discomfort, a fleeting thought of "I wonder what they're up to." But soon it becomes an ache, a persistent longing that refuses to be ignored. People often take others for granted, assuming that their presence is a constant. They don't notice the late-night conversations, the thoughtful gestures, or the emotional support until it's no longer there. Now, they find themselves reaching for their phone, instinctively expecting a message that never comes. They scroll through old conversations, replaying memories in their head, wondering why they didn't appreciate you when they had the chance. The silence that once felt like freedom to them now feels suffocating. This void isn't just about missing your presence. It's about missing how you made them feel. Your energy, your kindness, your ability to understand them without judgment. They search for replacements, distractions, anything to fill the space you left behind. But deep down, they know the truth. You were never just anyone. You were someone who genuinely cared, someone who offered something real. And that kind of presence, it's irreplaceable. But here's the key. You don't go back. You don't rush to fill the void for them. You let them sit with it. Let them feel the weight of what they lost. Because in that emptiness, they come face to face with the consequences of their actions. They learn that people are not disposable, that real connections don't come around every day. And by the time they realize it, you've already moved on. You've reclaimed your energy, your peace, and your sense of self-worth. The void of missing you is theirs to deal with, not yours to fix. Let them miss you, let them feel it, and let them learn that once you're truly gone, you don't come back. Number 3, overwhelming curiosity. At first, they act indifferent. They pretend not to care that you've vanished, convincing themselves that your absence means nothing. But then, something starts to gnaw at them. Curiosity. It begins as a passing thought, a momentary "I wonder what they're up to." But soon, that thought grows into an obsession. They need to know where you are, what you're doing, and most importantly, why you're not reaching out. People often expect consistency. They assume that if you cared once, you'll always be there. So when you suddenly go silent, no messages, no calls, no reaction to their posts, it confuses them. The uncertainty eats away at them. Are they moving on? Are they seeing someone new? Are they happier without me? These questions become relentless, forcing them to check up on you in ways they never thought they would. They start lurking, scrolling through your social media, looking for any sign of what's going on in your life. Maybe they ask mutual friends about you, trying to sound casual when they're anything but. They replay old conversations, dissecting every word, searching for clues they might have missed. And the worst part? The less they know, the more desperate they become. Curiosity is powerful because it creates an illusion of loss. The unknown is unsettling, and their mind starts filling in the blanks with worst-case scenarios. What if you've moved on to someone better? What if you never cared as much as they thought? The mystery of your silence drives them to the edge, making them crave answers they may never get. But you remain unbothered. You don't feed their curiosity, you don't drop hints, and you don't give them the satisfaction of knowing where you stand. because the moment you do, you hand them back the control. Instead, you let them sit with their unanswered questions, their restless thoughts, and their growing realization that you are no longer within their reach. And that's when it truly hits them. Losing you wasn't just about your presence, it was about losing the access, the certainty, and the comfort of knowing you were always there. And now, they're left wondering if they'll ever get another chance to know you again. Number 4, deep self-reflection. After the initial sting of your absence, after the endless curiosity that keeps them checking their phone and replaying old conversations, something shifts. The silence forces them inward. Now, instead of focusing on what you're doing, they start reflecting on what they did. At first, it's subtle, just a passing thought about a moment they could have handled differently. But then, the memories start piling up. They remember the times they ignored your efforts, the moments they took you for granted, the things they said or didn't say that pushed you away. And the realization starts to hit them. Maybe I was the problem. Self-reflection can be one of the most uncomfortable experiences, especially for someone who never expected to lose you. When you were around, they didn't need to think too deeply about their actions because they knew you'd always be there. But now, your absence forces them to face the truth they avoided for so long. They begin to see the patterns, their ego, their pride, their inability to appreciate you while they had you. They recall the times you tried to communicate your feelings, only for them to dismiss or ignore them. Now, there's no fixing it. There's no quick text they can send that will erase what's already done. They have to sit with the weight of their own mistakes. For some, this reflection sparks genuine growth. They recognize where they went wrong, not just with you, but in how they approach relationships overall. They start working on themselves, not just to win you back, but because they finally see the flaws they need to change. For others, the reflection is nothing more than regret. Instead of evolving, they dwell in self-pity, wishing they had done things differently but still unwilling to take responsibility. They might even try to shift the blame, convincing themselves that you were the one who overreacted, that you were the problem. But by the time they reach this stage, it doesn't matter anymore. You've already moved forward, and whether they choose to learn from their mistakes or not is no longer your concern. The power has shifted. Now, they are the ones left wondering what could have been, while you continue your journey of self-growth, stronger, wiser, and completely unattached to the past. Number 5, the urge to pursue. After the deep self-reflection, something shifts within them. The silence is unbearable, the realization of their mistakes is overwhelming, and suddenly they are gripped by an undeniable urge to chase after you. At first, they try to resist it. Their pride tells them to stay put, to act indifferent, to pretend they don't care. But the truth is, they do, more than they ever admitted. The longer they sit with the weight of losing you, the more desperate they become to undo the damage. They start checking your social media obsessively, looking for any clue about your life. Are you happy without them? Have you moved on? Are you seeing someone else? The idea of you thriving without them sends them into a panic. In their mind, you were supposed to linger in the past, waiting for them to come around. But now, they're the ones stuck in place while you continue moving forward. This is where the pursuit begins. They start testing the waters, maybe a random "hey" text, a like on an old photo, or a comment meant to spark a response. If they sense you're ignoring them, they escalate. Suddenly, they're reminiscing about the past, bringing up inside jokes, or sending you messages at odd hours, hoping you'll take the bait. For some, the pursuit becomes an all-out chase. They make excuses to run into you, ask mutual friends about you, or even try to make you jealous by posting pictures with other people, anything to grab your attention. But here's the truth. Their pursuit isn't about love or redemption. It's about control. They don't like feeling powerless, and your absence has shown them that they never had the hold on you they once believed. Now they crave the validation of knowing they still matter to you. But the moment you entertain their pursuit, the power dynamic resets. They feel in control again, and the cycle repeats. That's why the best response is no response. Let them chase, let them wonder, let them feel the weight of their own actions. The urge to pursue is strong, but if you stay strong in your silence, they will soon realize they've already lost you. Number 6. The battle between relief and regret. At first, they tell themselves they made the right choice. Maybe they needed space. Maybe they thought they could do better. Maybe they convinced themselves that letting you go was a decision made from strength rather than fear. They feel a fleeting sense of relief, as if a weight has been lifted. But relief is deceptive. It's temporary, because once the dust settles and they're left alone with their thoughts, something else creeps in: regret. They start replaying everything in their mind: the last conversation, the words left unsaid, the moments they brushed off, assuming there would always be another chance. And with every memory that resurfaces, they realize how much they underestimated your value. At first, they fight it. They try to rationalize why they left or why they pushed you away. They convince themselves that they had good reasons, that it was for the best. But no matter how hard they try, they can't shake the nagging feeling that they lost something, someone irreplaceable. Regret is a slow burn. It doesn't hit all at once. It builds over time, especially when they see that you're not waiting for them. The thought of you moving on, laughing with someone else, living a life where they no longer matter, it eats away at them. They scroll through old messages, rereading words that once felt so casual but now carry so much meaning. They think about reaching out but hesitate, afraid of being ignored, afraid of confirming what they already suspect. You don't need them anymore. And that's the hardest part for them to accept. They wanted to believe that you would always be an option, that you would always be there, no matter how they treated you. But now, as the battle between relief and regret rages on, one truth becomes undeniable. They made a mistake. And this time, there's no going back. Number 7. The desire to play the game. Once regret settles in, panic takes over. They realize they might have lost you, but instead of taking accountability, they resort to games. They don't want to admit their mistake outright, so they do what many people do when they feel powerless. They try to manipulate the situation to regain control. At first, their actions seem subtle. They start acting distant on purpose, hoping to make you curious. Maybe they post pictures with other people, carefully curated to look like they're happy and thriving without you. Perhaps they post a cryptic status about moving on or finally feeling free, hoping you'll see it and wonder if they've replaced you. They might even engage in casual flirting in public or on social media, knowing word will get back to you. This is all a ploy. They don't actually want to move on. They want you to be the one who can't. They want you to question your decision, to feel a sense of loss, to wonder if they've truly let you go. They're playing the game, hoping you'll chase them again. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you refuse to engage in their petty tactics? When you don't react to their carefully staged photos, their sudden friendliness with new people, their vague status updates? What happens when you move forward in silence? They become desperate. They up the ante, trying even harder to provoke a reaction. Maybe they suddenly unfollow you, hoping you'll notice and ask why. Maybe they send indirect messages through mutual friends, planting seeds of curiosity. Maybe they even try to make you jealous by pretending they've moved on with someone new. But no matter what they do, it all stems from one core truth. They're still thinking about you. See, manipulation only works when someone engages with it. The moment you refuse to play, the game falls apart. Their tactics don't have power over you anymore because you've evolved beyond their childish strategies. You're no longer chasing validation, and that terrifies them. When someone loses control over the person they once took for granted, panic sets in. They start throwing everything they can at you: passive-aggressive comments, exaggerated posts about their newfound happiness, even attempts to stir up drama. But deep down, they know the truth. They lost you, and nothing they do now can change that. Number 8. The crushing weight of silence. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you can use when you disappear. The absence of your words, your texts, and your presence speaks louder than anything you could ever say. It leaves them with nothing but their own thoughts, and that's where the real torment begins. At first, they may brush it off, thinking you'll come back eventually. After all, they were used to your presence, your effort, your constant willingness to communicate. But as the silence stretches longer, it starts to weigh on them like an unbearable burden. They start to question everything. They replay old conversations, wondering if they missed a sign. They think back to all the times they ignored your messages, the times they were too busy to reply, the times they took you for granted. And now, with nothing but quiet to fill the space, regret starts to creep in. Silence is torturous for someone who thrives on control. They expected you to reach out. They assumed you would ask what went wrong, that you would beg for an explanation, that you would break before they ever had to. But what happens when you don't? When you disappear and leave them alone in the quiet, forced to sit with their own emotions. Every minute without a word from you feels like an eternity. They wait for a notification, a sign that you're still thinking about them, but it never comes. And in a world where instant communication is the norm, where texts, calls, and social media keep everyone constantly connected, your silence becomes deafening. They spiral. The absence of your presence becomes louder than any words you could have spoken. They never thought losing you would feel like this. They thought they were in control, but now, for the first time, they realize the truth. You were the one who held the real power all along. Your silence forces them to confront their own behavior, their own mistakes, and the painful reality that you're no longer available to them. And the longer you stay silent, the more they realize just how much they've lost. Number 9. The fear that brings them crawling back. This is the moment they never saw coming, the moment when fear grips them so tightly that they can no longer ignore it. For the longest time, they were comfortable. They assumed you would always be there, waiting, no matter how they treated you. They thought they had the upper hand, that you were the one who needed them more. But now, you're gone. And suddenly, the fear of truly losing you becomes unbearable. At first, they try to act indifferent, telling themselves it's just a phase. But as time passes and your silence remains unbroken, something shifts. It starts as a nagging worry. What if they've really moved on? Then it turns into full-blown panic. What if I lost them for good? The idea of you being happy without them, of you sharing laughter and intimate moments with someone else, is a thought they can't stomach. It consumes them, keeping them up at night, making them question everything. They begin imagining you in someone else's arms, giving your attention to someone new. The jealousy burns, twisting in their chest like a knife. Suddenly, they're no longer worried about their pride or their ego. They just want you back. Desperation takes over. They start overanalyzing every interaction, wondering where it all went wrong, regretting the times they took you for granted. And in that desperation, they do things they swore they never would. They reach out, they apologize, they send long messages, pouring their emotions out, saying things they should have said before. They might even show up unexpectedly, hoping to see you face to face, hoping to convince you to give them another chance. But here's the truth. By the time they feel this fear, It's already too late. You've changed. You've found your strength. You've embraced your independence. Their fear is real, but it's no longer your problem. When they come crawling back, don't mistake their panic for love. Let them face the consequences of their actions. They thought they could take you for granted, but now they understand. You were never an option to be played with. You were the prize all along. Number 10. The realization of emotional independence. This is the moment everything comes full circle. When you walk away, when you remove yourself from their grasp, something incredible happens, not just to them, but to you. At first, it may feel like a loss, like something is missing. But over time, you begin to see the truth. You were never truly dependent on them. You were just caught in the illusion that their presence defined your worth. Emotional independence is not about being cold or indifferent. It's about realizing that your happiness, your peace, and your self-worth do not rely on anyone else. It's about understanding that you are complete on your own. The moment you stop seeking validation from others, you take back your power. No longer do their opinions dictate your mood. No longer do you wait for their approval. You've stepped into a new reality, one where you control your emotions, not them. And here's the twist. They feel it. They sense the shift. The person they once knew, the one who sought their attention, who craved their affection, is gone. In their place stands someone stronger, wiser, and untouchable. They realize that the dynamic has changed, that they no longer hold the power. You are no longer reacting to their actions. You are no longer affected by their absence. You've evolved beyond their control. This realization is what truly separates you from them. While they remain stuck in cycles of seeking validation and playing games, you have broken free. You no longer need to prove your worth to anyone. You don't need to beg for love, chase after attention, or explain yourself. You have found peace in solitude, confidence in your own presence, and freedom in your emotional independence. The ultimate victory isn't in making them miss you. It's in realizing that you don't need them at all. You are now untouchable, and that is your greatest power.